So, good afternoon, everybody. Today, I'd love to introduce you to my colleague, Michelle Wimsey. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Now, Michelle is from Hadham Health. She's a specialist in health insurance and a representative of WPA Private Medical Insurance. So, Michelle, can you tell me a little bit about how you got into what you do now?
Yeah, of course. So I used to, in my corporate days, run an employee benefits broking business for Marsh in London. So I was broking health insurance products predominantly for our clients, our corporate clients, for them to be able to offer those to their own employees as part of their employee benefits. So I was involved in sort of private medical and critical illness and personal accident and health cash plans, but obviously the end user were the employees of our clients, our corporate clients. And I really sort of, as with anybody, we all get married, have kids. Commuting to London was becoming quite a challenge. We relocated due to my husband's work. So I really wanted to just sort of look at a way to work for myself that was going to be more flexible around having a young family without losing all the skills and the knowledge that I'd had. So through various contacts, etc., a territory came up with WPA, and I chose to sort of launch my practice 3 years ago.
3 years, almost the day.
Almost the day. Yeah, thank you.
So, obviously, with one of the questions I wanted to ask was why WPA as opposed to other private health insurance companies? What makes WPA special?
Number of reasons. Basically, they are a very, very ethical insurer. I have obviously worked with a lot of other insurance companies. For me, they are a not-for-profit health insurer. So it's quite a unique situation that they're in, because all the other insurers that we will know the likes and the names of will operate a different model. So the biggest difference between WPA and the other insurers is that our personal and small business plans, you don't get effectively penalised if you claim on those. So you can claim and you can utilise those plans very, very easily, and it won't result in you having massive increases on your renewals. And that's a really yes, it's a very ethical model. It means that people that are taking out those policies can be sure about the fact that their cover is going to remain affordable. And when people are, covering themselves for things like cancers, the bills can be very, very hefty. So it's a big reassuring factor that they know that they are going to then still be able to continue to be able to afford the premiums, even if they have had significant claims going through. So for me, it was a real breath of fresh air. And I felt it was a really, really good offering. And I was really encouraged about trying to offer that out and spread the word to as many people as possible that there was an alternative option.
Yeah, that's great. And what about, why choose health insurance now after a lockdown? I guess a lot of people, it was put on hold to start off with, I guess, because, everything was all about COVID-19. But in terms of going forward, why would people choose to do health insurance now?
I think the conversations I'm having with people now are varied. There are varying reasons. So businesses that have survived, that are relatively small, the directors have maybe had a bit of a scare and gone, actually, my health does need to be protected because I've escaped COVID-19, but what would be the impacts on my business if I were to get very sick? So it's given people a bit more time to think about their health. So obviously with health insurance, it enables you to bypass the NHS, predominantly the waiting list. You've probably seen in the press that there are now an estimated 10 million people waiting for treatment, likely by the end of the year. All the time that operations and clinics have not run during COVID-19, it has had a massive knock-on impact. So waiting lists are at least over a year for any sort of non-urgent treatment, i.e. where you're not suffering from a life-threatening condition there and then. So really, for me now, it's explaining to people that the biggest advantage is going to be that if they have private medical, they can bypass those waiting lists, get their access to speedy diagnosis, speedy treatment. They can minimise the risk of COVID because the private hospitals have had a very different setup and have never really been exposed to COVID. So there is that reduced infection risk. And obviously post-operatively, privately, you have your own room and your own bathroom. You're not put on a ward with a number of other patients. So again, there is, you know, an additional benefit that people are starting to see now.
Yeah,
so
peace of mind, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about some of the other services I know that WPA have brought out, actually probably at the beginning of lockdown, like the remote GP service?
Yeah, so because we're a lot smaller than the other insurers, we're able to respond really quickly. And so WPA thought, you know what, we do need to provide members with extra support. We were always looking at rolling out a 24/7 GP service, but that was going to be staggered over 12 months. Instead, within 2 weeks, we managed to roll out the 24/7 GP service to all of our members in one go, and they will keep those benefits now. So there is a virtual GP. It stops people having to try and get into their NHS GP, because that can still be very difficult. Again, it's instant. You can get an appointment the same day. It can be video or phone. And they can issue prescriptions, and they can do referral letters if you need to go and see a specialist. So it's all about enhancing people's access to medical advice from home where they're safe. We also launched a health and wellbeing helpline for all of our personal lines customers, so that they could get access to telephone counselling, they could get access to advice about financial debt, legal advice, all sorts of things, because we thought it would throw up some life challenges for people. Yeah. And the biggest difference is that because WPA are not for profit, we recognised we were collecting premium, and yet a lot of our customers could not claim because the private hospitals were temporarily shut, and they were there for the COVID-19 patients to back up the NHS. So over 2 instances, WPA have issued premium rebates to their customers to effectively give something back. Yeah. So that's totaled £7.7 million that we've given back to our customers to recognise that they haven't had full access, as they would normally, to the private sector.
Well, that's like a breath of fresh air, isn't it? It's unheard of, really, isn't it? To to have that, and very nice as well to get something back without even asking.
Yeah, and I mean, they are the only health insurer who have done that, and it has made a big difference to whether people have been able to continue to afford their cover whilst their businesses have been shut. And now their own businesses are starting to come back. They're ever more grateful because they've now been able to go off and book appointments that they've needed, and they haven't lost their cover over lockdown.
So finally then, what about you talked a little bit about businesses and personal. So who does the health insurance cover, or can it help?
We can help anybody. So anybody from your single person at home, not working, we can insure, to a single director of a business, a family. We can also we're the only insurer that does multi-family plans, where you've got individuals from the same family line living at different homes and different addresses. And we can also do corporates. So in my area, I would deal with companies sort of up to 1,000 employees. Sometimes it might be better for that to be passed over to the other side of WPA's business, but really within my practice, I will be dealing with corporate companies from 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20 employees, right up to several hundred. So what we can offer in our sort of personalized service is really covered to everybody that may be considering it. But obviously the corporate side, the small business plans we offer, they are quite unique as well, because they are also not claims rated like the Bupa, the AXA, Aviva plans.
And I think a lot of people maybe don't even consider doing private medical because they just assume it's going to be too expensive, and they won't be able to afford it. But that there are all sorts of different plans, from plans to cashback plans as well. So effectively with some of these things you can actually claim more money back than you're paying out as well, which sounds a bit weird.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And don't get me wrong, I do cash plans as well. And it's a good point, Lou. But, it depends on the individual's needs. And I think that's the biggest thing that is very different. You call the other insurers, you get a price, but you get very little advice. Our whole model is what is it that you really want? What do you spend most of your money on in terms of your health expenditure? And what do you want to have cover for moving forwards? And we will assess what's right for that customer along with the customer by giving them all the options, looking at the premiums. And it might be that some people just need a cash plan. They might be younger, or they might feel they spend so much money on dental and optical that's their primary focus, and they're looking to get some reimbursement for that, in which case a cash plan, you're right, is very, very beneficial because it's low cost. They get a lot of extra benefits if they end up in the A&E services or using the NHS, but they get the benefit of the dental and the optical. Or you can go down something that's slightly more comprehensive. But again, you're right, we've got so many different plans, so many different cover levels, so many ways to make those premiums affordable. And we just sit here and model it to try and get that happy medium for the customer.
So I think the moral of that is that really, if you're considering it, if you're an individual, a company, a family, whatever, the best thing is just to pick up the phone and talk to you about our circumstances and what would fit better and best for each one. So bearing that in mind, then what is the best way to contact you, Michelle?
The best way really is either obviously is to get all my contact details. People can either go to my website, which is hadhamhealth.com. There is a contact us page on there where you can fill in a little pro forma and submit it, and it will come straight into my emails. As long as people have given me their phone number, I can call them, or my phone number is actually on there as well. They can also contact me through LinkedIn, which I'm on under my name. They can also Google search me under the Healthcare Partners on the WPA website. But the quickest way is really through my Hadham Health website.
Brilliant. There's so much that we can talk about, and I know, as a client of WPA, that it's been fantastic. Keith and I have been members for, I think it's nearly 10 years now. And it's just so good to be able to pick up the phone, and you claim so easily. It's unbelievable. There's no faffing around at all. It's a very quick process, and so I would highly recommend, if anybody is even considering it, it's definitely worth a phone call. It's not as expensive as you think. So Michelle?
No, I think that's the biggest thing. Talk to me and be surprised. There's no fee. I don't charge a fee. It's important to make people aware that my advice is completely free. So they've got nothing to lose by talking to me, and I'll tell them if I can't help them. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Lovely to talk to you today, Michelle. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Luke.